in the heart of ancient Africa, where the golden sun kissed the vast plains and mighty rivers carved paths through lush Loncap. A legend was born. Amanirenas, a name whispered with reverence and awe, would rise to become one of the most formidable queens to ever grace the continent. Her story begins in the prosperous kingdom of Kush, a land renowned for its rich gold mines, skilled archers, and monumental pyramids that rivaled even those of Egypt. Long before her reign, Kush had a history intertwined with its powerful northern neighbor. For centuries, Egyptian pharaohs had extended their influence southward, at times even directly ruling Kush, but the spirit of the Kushites was indomitable, and they eventually cast off the yoke of foreign rule, establishing their own independent dynasty that would, for a time, even conquer and rule Egypt as the 25th dynasty. It was into this proud and resilient heritage that Amanirenas was born, a princess destined for greatness. From her earliest days, Amanirenas displayed an extraordinary intellect and an unyielding will. She was not content with the traditional roles prescribed for women of her time, though Kushite society afforded women a degree of power and influence unheard of in many other ancient civilizations. Kushite queens, known as Kandaks, often ruled in their own right, sometimes even leading armies into battle. This was the legacy that shaped Amanirenas. She immersed herself in military strategy, studied the art of governance, and honed her skills as a leader, preparing for a future she knew would demand strength and wisdom. The time of her ascension to the throne was one of growing tension and external threats. To the north, the mighty Roman Empire, having conquered Egypt, now cast its avaricious gaze upon the wealthy lands of Kush. The Romans, with their vast legions and insatiable desire for expansion, saw Kush as another prize to be taken, its resources to be plundered, and its people to be subjugated. Amanirenas, now Kandak, understood the gravity of the situation. She knew that the very independence of her kingdom, the legacy of her ancestors, rested on her shoulders. The Romong incursions began subtly, with skirmishes along the border and attempts to impose taxes and tariffs on Kushite trade. But Amanirenas was not a ruler who would cower or concede. She rallied her people, reminding them of their proud history and their warrior spirit. Her speeches ignited a fire in the hearts of her subjects, and they pledged their unwavering loyalty to their fierce queen. Under her command, the Kushite army, famed for its archers whose arrows could pierce through Roman armor, began to prepare for an inevitable confrontation. The conflict escalated dramatically when the Romong prefect of Egypt, Eleusalus Lanchka's legions, hardened by countless battles across the empire, marched southward, confident in their superior military might. They expected an easy victory, believing the Kushites to be an unsophisticated people who would quickly succumb. But they had gravely underestimated Amanirenas. She was not only a brilliant strategist, but also a fearless warrior who would personally lead her troops into the fray. In one of the most audacious moves of the war, Amanirenas led her forces on a daring, preemptive strike against the Roman-held city of Syene, modern Aswan. This was a direct challenge to Roman authority, a bold statement that Kush would not be easily conquered. Her army swept through the Roman defenses, capturing the city and even toppling statues of Emperor Augustus. A profound act of defiance that sent shockwaves through the Roman world. During this campaign, she is said to have lost an eye, an injury that only solidified her image as a battle-hardened queen. The Roman response was swift and brutal. Gaius Petron Vigit launched a massive counteroffensive, pushing deep into Kushite territory. He recaptured Syene and advanced further south, even reaching and sacking the Kushite capital of Napata. It seemed as though the might of Rome would ultimately prevail. However, Amanirenas, despite suffering significant losses, refused to surrender. She strategically retreated, regrouped her forces, and prepared for a protracted guerrilla war, using her knowledge of the terrain to her advantage. For years, Amanirenas engaged in a war of attrition with the Romans. Her archers harassed Roman supply lines, ambushed their patrols, and launched swift, devastating raids. The desert, once a formidable barrier for invaders, became her ally, providing cover and strategic advantages. The Romans, accustomed to pitched battles on open fields, found themselves entangled in a grueling conflict against a resilient and cunning adversary. The cost in Roman lives and resources began to mount, and their initial confidence slowly turned into frustration and weariness. Recognizing that a complete conquest of Kush would be too costly, the Romans eventually sought a diplomatic solution. Amanirenas, ever the shrewd negotiator, seized this opportunity to secure a favorable peace treaty. In 21 sur 22 BC, negotiations began, and remarkably, Amanirenas achieved what many considered impossible. She secured a peace treaty that was highly advantageous to Kush, maintaining its independence and even establishing a buffer zone between the two empires. The Romans were forced to recognize Kush as a sovereign nation, a testament to Amanirenas' military prowess and diplomatic skill.